Well, honestly speaking, when throughout my life, my career, so to say, I have worked in developmental sectors. So IT has been one of my basic area of operation, and then I have worked in agriculture, human resource development, drinking water and sanitation, as Chief Secretary of the State, also in Government of India as Department of Economic Affairs. So all my roles have been, and then of course UIDAI and then Secretary in the Department of Electronics and IT. All my roles have been on developmental front. So when I came to this place, I was not very sure as to how this will, play out, or how this will really, is this an interesting role, or will it really, will it really appeal to me in some sense, or will it be? But honestly speaking, after spending 1 year, I think here is a sector and the role where one can do so much, because regulation not necessarily is like policing. Regulation can also, you can become a facilitator in doing a lot of things. So I find that because the way the TRAI Act is structured, one can make recommendations on a number of issues to the government, and these issues are many times developmental. For example, our sort of intervention on BharatNet, Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi, many areas. So that is one. And secondly, I think as a sector it is very vibrant sector, both telecom and broadcasting. And I feel that that I am able to contribute to the best of my capacity, and now I find that this job is also very interesting. Digital India is one of the most transformational project of the current government. The Honorable Prime Minister, when he sort of guided us and when he led this effort, his vision is to transform India into a digitally empowered society and a knowledge economy. That's the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister. And I was lucky to have been at that point in time the Secretary of the Department of Electronics and IT, which is actually the nodal department for Digital India. And there we drafted out the vision areas and what needs to be done. So one of the most fundamental area on which the entire Digital India is predicated in some sense is the ubiquitous connectivity, ubiquitous broadband connectivity, and we call it broadband as a utility to citizens. So I think that is something which is extremely important, because you can have softwares, you can have digital empowerment, but nothing will work unless you have digital connectivity. So I think digital connectivity is extremely important, and we in our own humble way at TRAI have been kind of providing appropriate recommendations to the government regarding solving this problem of providing broadband connectivity to our people. Let me say that as of now, India is really not, India does not have a very impressive position in the digital connectivity. In fact, in many areas we are below countries like Sri Lanka, some countries in Africa. So it's not really a, we don't have great ranking. And there are reasons for it. There are reasons in the sense that we do not have many fixed lines. The total number of fixed lines when we went for mobile revolution was just about 20 million, and they have not grown since then. So there are reasons. What we have done is, one, on the BharatNet project, which the ambitious project of the government, which was earlier known as NOFN, we have given our clear recommendations that the more appropriate strategy to implement BharatNet will be through a public-private partnership on the basis of build, own, operate and transfer model, where the entrepreneurs are actually given the responsibility of constructing the network, using the network, maintaining the network, marketing it, and finally giving, taking from the government the viability gap funding basis. That's broadly the model which we have given. The second thing, which a very important recommendation which has been given to the government, is how we can use digital cable TV infrastructure for providing broadband to the people. So that's second recommendation, and our view is that there are 100 million cable TV homes in this country, and if each of them is able to carry 10 megabits per second or more, then I think we can have a very good broadband, reliable broadband connectivity. So that is second thing. Third is we are actually saying that while it may not be possible to give fiber connection to each home in our country, it is possible to have Wi-Fi hotspots in our country which can provide a very reliable and cheaper broadband to the people. So we have, for example, in USA and in some countries in Europe like France and England, they have millions of Wi-Fi hotspots. We just have about 35,000. It is really a pity, and therefore we are working on an architecture where one will be able to log on to any Wi-Fi hotspot in the country and actually pay for it or use it. So that is the third recommendation which we are going to give to the government. The other things are using satellite communications wherever it is possible, especially in remote areas, to really provide broadband connectivity to the people. Currently there are policy impediments in the sense that satellite bandwidth provision is actually canalized by the Department of Space, and that is not really consistent with the open sky policies of the new telecom policy in 2012. So that's another National Telecom Policy 2012. So that's another recommendation which we have given. Then of course the government has, as you are aware, auctioned a lot of spectrum, 964 megahertz or so recently, and the whole idea is that it should improve quality of service as also should provide data, wireless data connectivity. So these are some of the things which have been done, and I think if all these steps are taken, we will see a substantial improvement in digital connectivity. Let me not address that issue. I think what I feel is that currently a very large amount of spectrum was sold, and our Secretary Telecom was telling us, and we know the figures also, that this is the largest sort of down payment which the government have got compared to all other auctions. So I think it's a very successful auction. Yes, it is true that the 700 megahertz band was not sold out, but that really should not bother us, in the sense that the telcos have taken whatever spectrum they are required to take, and my sense is that now the quality of service should improve, because one of the factors which the telcos tell us is that the paucity of spectrum, availability of spectrum per operator in India was fairly low, and this offering and this purchase of spectrum will sort of resolve that problem to a large extent. Let's not get into what Mr. Ambani has said and what some others said. I am just we are dealing this issue from a regulatory perspective. The interconnection is at the heart of telecom networks, because if there is no interconnection, there are no networks. Every network has to connect to every other network, and the quality of service norms regulated or defined by TRAI, they say that all the operators, concerned operators, will provide adequate point of interconnects, so that people are able to make call freely from one network to another network. And the quality of service benchmarks on the point of interconnect have also been provided. It says that you cannot have more than 0.5% call failures at the point of interconnect. So for us, it is a very serious consumer issue, because I do not differentiate between the consumers of operator A and operator B. So essentially, if I take a connection from an operator and if I am not able to make a call, to that extent it is denial of my rights as a consumer. So we are assiduously following up, working with the operators, taking other legal steps, whatever are permitted under law, to ensure that this problem is resolved. See, as you would recall, the Reliance Jio launched their services on 5th of September. We had, TRAI had a meeting with the CEOs of all the companies on 9th of September, where we said that they must provide interconnect points, because this was one operator, Reliance Jio, had complained to us that they don't have the adequate pointer of interconnects. So that 9th meeting took place. Thereafter, on 27th September, we have issued show cause to the operators. Again on 30th September, I had called a meeting of the CEOs. I think the dates may be, I'm not very sure what the dates are, but broadly that's the situation. So we have issued show cause notices to the operators as to why the service norms, quality of service norms are not being met. They have submitted the response. We will take appropriate legal steps. We have also on 7th of October, we had directed them to ensure that the adequate call failures are not there beyond the prescribed limits. So that compliance, that reports we are receiving, we will review that and take appropriate action. So as you can see, we are monitoring the situation very closely, and we will continue to intervene. So as you can see, the legal action, whatever is appropriate, will have to be taken. Let me not. I think we have already, TRAI has already sort of clarified the position today and responded to the operators on some of these issues. One was the issue of the tariff. Another was the issue of the welcome offer going beyond 90 days. So some those issues have been addressed, and we have responded. There is no deferment situation. That's not correct. We are having a IUC consultation, and that consultation's reason is actually something else. The reason is the BSNL's fixed mobile telephony, and we have put them on hold. So we can't sort of defer it, or we will continue to have that. Below 14, where is the question of when I am reviewing interconnect, how do you assume that when I am sort of proposing to do it with below 14 or above 14? How do you do that? It is actually, we have an open mind. We have a consultation paper. Everybody is expected to give their views, and once they give their views, then we will sort of have an open house discussion. We will consult the stakeholders, and then we will take an appropriate decision. That's how it works.